Welcome back to a brand new episode of TVGP's Game Club. This episode we are playing Citizen Sleeper 2, Wayward Vector, Starward Vector. Man, almost got it. I'm the host Boston, who keeps forgetting the game name of the games. Playing out on the PlayStation 5, joined as always by Moonpier.
Hi, host of Wayward Sons, playing this on the Xbox Series X.
Yep, exactly. And Musim.
Hello, host of none. I am I'm playing on Steam Deck.
I remember both of your names. That's the important part. All right, let's talk about details of this game. Released January 31st, 2025. Published by Fellow Traveler. Developed by Jump Over the Age, which is really just Gareth Damian Martin. Released on PS5, Series consoles, Switch, and PC. Composed by Amos Roddy. Quick descriptor of what this game is before I forget to do that in the show. It's a tabletop RPG. It's just that. Imagine Austin Walker's voice as you're reading the game. It's that.
Dude, can Austin? I know you don't listen. Can you stream this and read all of the choices aloud, please?
How much money do you need in a Kickstarter for that to happen? Time travel here. Metacritic 85, OpenCritic 85. Peers for the release date: Dynasty Warriors Origins, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth came out on PC. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, Tales of Iron 2, Whiskers of Winter, which is a great title. Hello Kitty Island Adventure came out on PC and Switch, and Rift of the Necrodancer. This is a little closer to the game's release than we usually do, but I'm still going to ask the same question we ask every time. Was this game top of the pile, middle of the pack, or overlooked?
Top of the pile. I feel like my whole Blue Sky account has been
100%.
Okay.
Our curated friends list / feeds have all been Citizen Sleeper 2 because, spoiler alert, my entire friends list feed way back when was all Citizen Sleeper 1.
True.
So
all our fellow reading
of course.
nerds.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd probably say somewhere between top of the pile or middle of the pack. I think the original game's release on Game Pass did a really great job of exposing this to a lot more people, of just like, hey man, it's on Game Pass, just try it. And it's on PS Plus now too. Just like, yeah, download it and try it out, play it for an hour or two, like see if you like it. What are you gonna lose? I think that helped a lot, and there was kind of just enough time between the two games releases here for people to be like, yeah, I played that a while ago and I loved it. Yeah, I could go for another one. Before we get into the game here, before we get into the spoilers territory, which I'll talk about here in a minute, our next game is going to be Lost Records Bloom and Rage Tape 1. As we are fans of Don't Nod and their particular brand of adventure game, ? We kind of can't pass on their new Life is Strange-like sort of thing. So we're going to play Tape 1 and hopefully play Tape 2 at some point whenever that is released. So that's going to sort of be the first half of the game and then the second half of the game. So before we get into the game itself, this is where the non-spoiler stuff ends. We're going to be talking about spoilers for most likely the first game, definitely the second game.
100% we will.
The DLC of the first game, and the newsletter that bridges the two games. So, if you haven't played any of this stuff, you should stop and you should go play both of these games. And then, come back. If you've been playing along with us, then keep listening here. But, all right, all that out of the way. It's finally time to talk about Citizen Sleeper 2. And I don't know where to start. Let's talk about what class we picked.
Wait, I can start this nice and smoothly.
Okay, sure.
Because I never played Citizen Sleeper 1.
Uh-huh.
Until 2 weeks before this game came out.
Right.
And then I played all of Citizen Sleeper 1.
Right.
And oh boy, that's a really weird jump. I can tell you that right now.
Mm-hmm.
We will get to my feelings in the end.
Okay.
Ominous.
But I like the fact that it's just a straight soft reset. Same world, same lore, same a lot of stuff. same location-ish.
Right.
Same-
Same like major players, kind of like the corporations and the gangs and everything. Those are all kind of still the same.
Yes, but you don't play the character from one.
Right. You're still a
Which I think,
sleeper, but
yes.
I was really, because when you first start the game, I've started the game, Citizen Sleeper 2, about 5 or 6 times now, trying to go for that horrible buy the fuel things from Karstein at the beginning. It's so incredibly hard.
Oh,
But
boy, let me tell you about playing on dangerous difficulty later.
that's my next run. Is dangerous. But I was really surprised because at the beginning, you pick classes that are, if not the same as the original game's classes, very similar, and it starts in a very similar way that the first game starts. Of you kind of waking up and figuring out where you are, and I was like, you have that initial kind of worry of like, oh man, they're kind of like doing it again, like the same, and then very clearly it's like, nope, this is definitely the same game. But I love that
Different.
at the beginning he immediately shows you there's a different game of like stabilizer, never heard of her. You don't have to worry about that at all. That's not you keeping your body going is not a concern. You rebooted yourself, and though it didn't finish, which is kind of like one of the main cruxes of the story, you don't have to worry about that kind of S&ARP upkeep necessity that you had to in the first one. And I think that from the beginning, there's two main changes. I think I like planted a flag in the ground. That was one of them. The other one, which I kind of love and hate at the same time, is when you played the first game, when you picked your character class, you're bad at one of the 4 stats. And
Yes.
in the second one, you're still bad at one of the 4 stats, but you can't ever put points into your bad stat. Because at the end of the first game, you could just do anything. Like, you've got a +2 and everything. You're rolling like crazy. You're seeing the, like, predictive, what the dice are going to do, and you're just like, yeah, I don't care. Like, you want me to rough something up? I don't really care. And in this game, you have to be bad at one stat. And I think as much as that was horribly frustrating in parts of the game,
Yep.
I think that was a real benefit to this game of like, you're going to have to play your class.
I like Citizen Sleeper 1. I've not completed all the DLC for it. And I've never technically finished it. Although I'm at the end in on my Steam Deck and on, I want to say, Xbox. I was trying to figure out where my original save file was a week or two ago, and then when I was installing Avowed, I was like, wait, Citizen Sleeper's installed on my Xbox? But Citizen Sleeper 2 is so, for me at least, like way, like it's like almost an Assassin's Creed 1 to 2 level of difference for me.
Yeah.
If I liked Assassin's Creed 1, which I don't like Assassin's Creed 1.
That's fair.
And like having the crew and performing jobs and having a spaceship and having the freedom to change around, like it is so it's just an amazing feeling, especially like on the first game where you're stuck on the Eye, which is a cool place, but
yeah.
the first one is so downtrodden and everything is just like 75% of the first game, everything is going wrong constantly. You have multiple tickers you can't keep up with. You're trying to
Right.
keep yourself alive with not only food, but also, stabilizer. And it is a hard trek. And the second one being free from stabilizer, flying around and recruiting crew, like it just is, I mean, the game honestly kind of floored me with how good it was. Like I wish... I don't know if there's a benefit to replaying it or not.
Well, I'm much happier with the game on my additional playthroughs, largely because and I feel like the game is almost kind of pushing you to do this. Like your first couple of jobs, at least my first couple of jobs, when you go out and you do a contract on my first playthrough, went horribly. I like vastly underestimated the amount of supplies I would need. I'm like rolling willy-nilly with bad rolls of like, yeah, I roll a 2. This will give me a +1. A 3's not so bad. Yeah, it's real bad, dummy. Don't roll a 3. Don't even roll a 4.
Yep.
Get out of there. So like going and playing through a second time, I now know when should I use my push skill, and like how aggressive can I be with that during a contract? When should I pull back? Like what should I focus on? Am I getting good enough rolls on this contract that I can do like the optional side objectives to get some scrap, or do I just need to focus on the main objective, get in and get out in the best way possible? So like that's been part of my fun for doing an initial one, is like, okay, I'm going to go do this job. I need to have fuel, doesn't really matter. I need to have 5 supplies. I need to have my stress as low as I can. Let's fix up any die that I've broken. Like I know that I need to go in to every contract as prepared and as kind of correct as I possibly can. So that's been fun.
Yeah,
supplies
did
are
have to.
so vital.
Yeah.
I did have to do a restart because the first time I played it, for whatever reason, I got really confused by the select crew UI.
It's on console, it's
and
not great. It's a little bit confusing.
Yeah, like anytime this is really true for a large chunk of video games where they have difficulty, like you have 2 icons on the screen, one's a color, one's a different color.
Yes.
And you're highlighting something on there and you don't know. So like the first time I went on a mission in this game, I left all my crew.
Oh, sure, because you're like, yeah, I selected them, let's go. And it's like,
Yeah.
nope.
Yeah. I tried doing it by myself and it didn't work out and I was very frustrated. I'm like, oh, this is going to be harder than the first game. And then I just restarted and everything went so much better since I had a clue. And I fail plenty in these games, but I think I picked up pretty quick that like, okay, if I want the full 5 days at any given contract, then I have to have all 5 loads of supplies with me.
Right.
But yeah, I definitely lost an hour or 2 of my time that way. I want to say the class I chose was engineer.
Yep.
I picked operator, the kind of hacker class.
I'm trying to remember, like, right, engineer is the one where they don't let you use endure. That's your canceled stat.
Correct.
Endure. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Operator's the one that has the kind of like bald dome. It's the like real thin looking sleeper that is kind of bald.
What's the third one?
Oh, it's like
Engineer.
Useless.
What?
It's the like they kind of like almost sell it as a mechanic. I never remember what it's called, but it's the one that specializes in endure, if I remember correctly. The real like no hacking kind of heavy guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I did that. So I initially, I don't know how you guys approached your trees. At the beginning, I think I went 2 or 3 tiers in the your special skill because it was just too invaluable to one, like
The
re-roll a
engineer
dice.
skill. I did not use that thing anywhere near enough, especially. So, did you do the plus or did you do the minus perk on it? Because Boston, the push, the special for the engineer, the upgrade path is it gives you a plus number to your lowest dice. It gives like increase 1, or you can then do either increase that by 2, or a negative stress on positive outcome, and then the second upgrade is negative stress on positive and neutral outcome.
Okay.
It is so powerful.
That's pretty similar to the operator one. Yeah, I feel like I misunderstood the push in the first time I played because I thought it was going to be something that I used outside of the contracts, and that's very much the opposite of like, no, this is your contract skill. This is the thing you're using to like continually, for lack of a better term, like push a little bit harder on, especially once you can like re-roll multiple dice when you use your push skill, where you're like, oh, I'm re-rolling 2 or 3 at once, so it's okay that I rolled a 5 and a 4 and 2 2s and a 1. That's fine. I'll just leave the 2 2s and a 1 and re-roll those and hopefully get a better outcome at the cost of a little bit more stress. And having
So
that balance was good.
On the engineer, I think you only re-roll one dice. So that's pretty huge if the operator gets to re-roll multiple.
It's not even a re-roll. It's just a flat numerical increase.
Okay, so
Like,
for the
it gives +1 to the lowest dice, +2 to the lowest dice, +3 to the lowest dice.
that's really strong, because for the operator, you're re-rolling up to 3 of your dice, and then if you hit a 6, you get 1 or 2 stress off, if I remember correctly. So you can re-roll into some pretty good stuff for a pretty low amount of stress, which is nice. And that's one thing I really liked in this game was I really liked the contract stuff a lot. When I was looking at this game pre-release, that seemed really overwhelming. Of like, okay, I'm getting a crew together and I'm taking them and using their skills to do jobs and taking my ship around the system. But it's really not. You're kind of doing the stuff you're normally doing. You just have this really like laser focused handful of cycles that you're doing, and trying to kind of balance risk reward as much as you can, especially when you have some jobs where it's like, it starts with a negative clock, or something is decaying pretty quickly, or as soon as you get a piece of the stress for the job, then things start snowballing pretty negatively. But once I got my hands around that felt really good, because I don't want to say that the rest of the game hasn't seen any improvements. I think one of the big improvements in this is being able to roll for dialogue choices in the main game itself. So it's sort of like, what are you gonna? Here's 2 or 3 options, and you get the normal 25% positive, 50% neutral, 25% negative for these choices, and then you get kind of pluses or minuses based on how you do that. That to me makes the game feel even more like a tabletop RPG rather than this kind of like dice-based visual novel than the first one of like, no, if you're going to make a choice in this, and sometimes the choice is to do nothing, and that doesn't, you don't have to do a dice roll, but like if you're going to do something, you should roll your dice, and I think that's a really smart addition on top of it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed a lot of those story moments too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what the choice was the first one you get, but I remember when it came up, I was like, wait, do I have to use a dice? Or I don't have to use a dice. This is just entirely based on my character. Like,
right.
It was, gosh, this is such a good game. Like my only complaint is I want there to be more of it. Like I want them to have like an endless contract system
right.
can engage with.
Yeah, let me hop in the rig, which the rig is a very cool ship.
Yeah.
Let me hop in the rig and just keep on working. I
upgrade the rig. Evidently, I have infinite bunks because I just keep getting.
That's right. Got like 8 people
For a
living on
small
this
ship that's got a lot of beds.
Yeah, and a cat. Like everybody's here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is this the same cat from the first game?
I like to think it is, but it sort of got into a scrap because it hurt its arm.
Yeah.
But
it also this cat moves in 0G a lot. Like it was born to it. I don't know if you guys got it, but there is even a sequence where if you feed the stray enough, you get a little cat moment later in the game.
Yep, I got that.
And literally it's all about how the cat is born and raised in 0G, which The cat on the eye was not, because the eye had gravity.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
I spent a large chunk of the game questioning whether the main character was actually the main character from the first game or not, and trying to remember all of the characters from the main first game. It was
So this was very helpful for me in a moment which we'll talk about probably later in this episode. Having just played Citizen Sleeper, anybody from the first game immediately jumped out to me like a sore thumb, and I was like, I see you there, Aki. I know who you are. I just dealt with you.
I was very happy that Bliss was back because I wandered around with them in my crew for almost every job. They were one of my favorites in the first game when you helped them with their like little repair shop and the spindle of the eye. I was very happy they were
and
back.
Keita as well.
Yeah, I was happy she was back too, and I sort of accidentally had a scene between
You
the
got
two
the
of
Evil
them.
X achievement.
Yeah, in Darkside, because I brought Bliss back, and Bliss kind of they, I don't want to say they confront Akita, but sort of is like, hey, what are you what's going on here? What are you doing now as part of this Utsubo? Like, is this what you were working towards? I was like, yeah, Bliss, get her. I was really happy that there were a number of characters from the first one that the game it didn't make it like a big event.
There was a couple of like moments where it's like, no, you remind me of somebody else, and it's like that line is a very clear Citizen Sleeper one. Aki says it.
I
think
loved Aki's especially because
Bliss says it too.
Aki especially was like, I knew a sleeper once, and they really helped me. They and some other people like really helped me on the green belt sort of figure out how to do this. And seeing Aki recreating the green belt and kind of extending it off of the eye was sort of like, all right,
Yeah.
life is continuing.
And then also
on.
like doing that whole because she was in the ship, the dust ship, from the DLC, and seeing her have that if spoiler alert, if you help her and you do the mission successfully, the place that she's in now has the one strip of like green plants, and then the one strip becomes the dust dome, which is exactly the ship that she was in the first one.
It's
like
cool.
yeah, okay,
yeah. And even though like Nenba kind of sucks, the chef guy that you bring the spores, like you're ferrying the spores back and forth, it was nice to see the two of them kind of connecting with each other and sharing a shared goal, which is it's part of we'll touch on it as we continue. As part of my favorite thing of the first one was kind of like helping each other as much as you can in a place that doesn't want to help anybody, and really trying to support each other as much as you can. And I feel like that was on multiple fronts was extended in this game. Of you're not only, except for one instance that kind of rubbed me the wrong way from like a storytelling standpoint. You're kind of going from place to place, accidentally getting pulled into like one person's storyline after another, and kind of trying to help and trying to improve, or not if your character is just like, no, I don't have time for that, bye. And then extending that into your crew on the rig of like you're helping out these people, but just like you did in the first game, you're kind of assembling this found family very much like you did on the Eye, but now you have this, like you said, this like clown car crew in this tiny spaceship of just like, here's 10 people and a cat that are all kind of living and managing in this one spot. And that felt great that they sort of extended that sort of impulse from the first game that I think worked so well. And it really struck me in this game that the thing that I wrote down here in my notes is that you can play as someone who inherently trusts the people around them, and that's not punished in this game. Like I wrote here that
Yeah.
trust is not a weakness or a path to losing in Citizen Sleeper 2. Where like so many other RPGs we play is like, oh, you trusted them, but like
you trusted the egg guy from Dragon Age, whatever it's called, Inquisition.
Right.
You trusted the egg guy. What a shame.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Doctor like twisting mustache evil guy. Oh, you trusted him, you big dummy. It's like I like that in this game I get to play my perfect world where everybody can help each other and you can trust everybody and give people a chance, and that's rewarded. And you can give all of these, like, I say this with love, these space misfits and a cat in this game a chance and an opportunity, and you can make them part of your family. And I think for me, that's really powerful, especially in a cyberpunk story of like, the corporations aren't going to help us. The government doesn't exist. The gangs aren't going to help anybody. We have to band together and we need to help each other. And I think that being an option and not being a negative in early 2025 feels very good.
Yeah.
I thought
It's
that
almost
was
like
powerful.
the game shows the decency of being humans to other humans.
Right. And like we said
Or
on
sleepers to other humans.
Critical Misses recently, that kindness is not a weakness. And I think it's good to see a game like this kind of continue to take that approach of just like, yeah, you can be good to other people. And there's a benefit there that everybody gets help and everybody wins. And hopefully everybody finds a home. I think that meant a lot to me in the first game, and that means a lot to me in this game. And I think that's one of the reasons why I think that personally this game is so powerful, is from a story perspective. So
It's a very good point. I hadn't really thought of, because any chance that it gave me, like, are you sure you want to trust this person? Like, I mostly just went with it, you know.
Right.
Like the doctor Jean-Mi, like, he doesn't ask for anything in return. Like,
he's one of my favorite characters in this game. Like when the game starts describing him as like this old guy with like watery, kind eyes, and I'm like, oh, Jean-Mi, you're great. You want to help me. And like, if you've played any other sci-fi stuff or like seen any other sci-fi story, it's like, yeah, he's gonna like put your consciousness in the ship mine and he's just gonna run away with it and you're gonna be dead. That's the end of the game. He just wants to help a sleeper that has a ship mine god rocking around in its body. No big deal.
Like, Eugene was the only one who I was like, a little 50-50 on.
There were two characters that one character I really didn't like. Eugene was the character that I was always like, okay, like you're being selfish in this world isn't inherently bad, because of course you need to be selfish to survive. The one character I really didn't like was Marco, especially when he sells you out on dark side, and they're like, do you want to help save him? And I was like, nope, bye.
Yeah. I saved him and he vanishes.
yeah,
Of course. Yeah,
I did that too.
I tried to save him on the run that I'm on right now, and I forgot. It's such a great combination of storytelling and gameplay at the same time when you're in Darkside and you complete one of those objectives, and you always, in every run I've done, I'm always like at the skin of my teeth completing one of the objectives, and you complete it and you start a new cycle and he's gone and you lose 2 dice that is one color. That every time I'm like, yeah, right, he does do that. And now I'm in a really bad spot. So
literally, as that mission wraps up, you literally have 0 supplies as well.
Yeah.
Like, you get a little something from Ankita, but
And you can
you're
go
running tight.
you can go steal 2 supplies too, but it's like the option of I can take a couple cycles to steal supplies, or I have to go rescue him in 2 cycles, and if your dice roll the wrong way, I gotta eat, man. Like
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So it's
And I
kind
think
of
like so as engineer, like you had, or not, yeah, engineer, we had negatives to both of those options on stealing the
Yeah,
food.
he was vital on that mission, dude. Like,
yeah.
unbelievably vital, because his
Yeah.
stats were the counterpoint to your stats.
Ah,
And
right.
when you're doing the crew picking thing as well, you're like, okay, I've got those 2 covered. I'll shore up these other 2 weaknesses.
Right.
So you end up with like super negative
Yeah.
rolls.
It's
Like I think I
really
had
good.
like maybe 3 dice, maybe 2 dice left when I left Dark Side that first time.
Yeah, I broke
Um,
when I I had died in my game before going to Dark Side, so I had 2 glitch dice going into Dark Side with 3
Oh,
dead
oh
dice,
man.
and came out with 1 glitched dice left. And I managed to like scrape away from the kind of the jaws of defeat at that point, because if I had died again, it would have been real bad. The game on the normal difficulty is not afraid to punish you for dying, but that would have been I would have been real mad at Marco. I still need to go get the trophy for like rescuing him, but like in that first run, I was like, no man, I got to look out for me and Bliss. Like they've been sticking with me this whole, ever since the beginning of the game. We're tight. I'm gonna save them, but not Marco. Come on, Marco, get out of here.
Yeah.
I'll save Ankita. She's cool too, but like, no thanks. I Speaking of characters, I did want to mention 2 real quick things about I really love is I dipped back into Citizen Sleeper 1 a little bit for like prep for this. And I didn't realize until I looked back at the first one how much kind of more refined and better the art is in this game, especially the character art. It's so much more detailed. It's a lot more crisp and stuff. And I like in this game too, in 2, how the artist is kind of playing with 0G for the character portraits. Like Nia is always upside down. There's a bunch of characters that always look like they're just kind of floating. The Stray is kind of always upside down too. Like I like that it's not, everybody is sort of like standing in place and the same. Like some people are very much like sitting cross-legged, floating in the middle of the air. Like I love that everything sort of reinforces that you are in 0G, like you are in space. And so you don't have to be upright. You can just be floating upside down all the time if you want. That's cool. So I like that.
yeah.
Did you guys trust the Overseer?
Yes.
Yes. I sort of, like everybody else, I kind of gave them the opportunity to not like run roughshod over my body, but sort of be like, all right, we're in this together, kind of literally. So let's be cool. I'll be cool. Everything should be fine. And I think that paid off pretty well.
Yeah, that whole moment, like you have a moment in that kind of battle where you're unplugged, the lane is coming towards you.
Mm-hmm.
On my team, I had Cadet and I don't remember who the other
Cadet
one
was
was.
cool. She's cool.
Probably Bliss, but I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But like you have the option to try and help your teammate, which in my case was Cadet,
Mm-hmm.
or plug yourself back in. And I'm like, I'm gonna roll the dice. I'm plugging myself back in, and all
Right.
you do, is you plug back in. You're like, remember our deal.
Yeah.
But like the last thing you see before you plug in is like your side character getting shot, and I'm like, oh crap, did I just get
Yeah.
one of my crew killed? But she was alive when I got out.
Well, and it was also concerning too. Like that was a really hard choice because Overseer up until that point, once they kind of get unleashed at Darkside at the very end when you go to reboot, they kind of ignore you when they're running throughout the system.
Yeah.
So you're like, well, do I have any guarantee that plugging back in is going to that Overseer is going to be around at all? Like, they seem to be a little bit too preoccupied with their freedom. So like, is that going to benefit me at all, or is my buddy here going to get killed?
Yeah.
A lot of the choices in this game I felt like were pretty tough, but that was one of the ones of like, oh no, I genuinely don't know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
This was,
Um,
there were many points where I was like, I should Google and see what the results of this were, and I
Right.
did not do it. So I am proud of myself for that.
Well, and I think it feels better too, because we didn't really get a lot of that in the first game. A lot of the first game was like, are you going to help Lem and Mina get off the planet, or are you going to take the tickets for yourself? And I'm like, well, I'm not going to take them for myself. Like, what the hell? Like, unless I'm going for a trophy. But like, a lot of them seemed very clear cut in the first game of like, do you want to be a bad guy or do you want to be a good guy? And a lot of the decision in this game was sort of like, which choice are you going to make out of two bad choices with the information that you know? And sort of separating out dice rolls from that. And that felt much more interesting, I think. I love the first one,
yeah.
to be clear, but like, this one is really a step above.
Yeah, I am in this franchise for as long as they make it.
Well, I got bad news for you.
Oh no, is
This is
the last one?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man.
He said he wants to
He's
make
focusing on an actual an actual
an
tabletop
actual
RPG.
tabletop. Yeah.
Mm.
And he just like after the first one, he's sort of leaving the door open to say like, look, I'm not saying I'll never come back to Citizen Sleeper, but I'm not, cracking open the design doc for Citizen Sleeper 3 right away. So he sort of said that after the first one, so hopefully eventually we'll get a third one, but
I mean, he should definitely take a break and refresh himself,
Yeah.
and make himself happy, and then come back and make the game that I want. No,
that's right. That's right. Yeah, my only real negative for this game is I only had one story section that I thought felt a little bit like, just like in the first game, your sleeper is kind of continually being pulled into somebody else's conflict or somebody else's problems just because you're in the right area at the right time. Moon, you might almost say that it's sort of like the Legend of the Road Warrior. But normally it feels okay because you're kind of like, through a series of circumstances, you run into somebody down on their luck or somebody that needs help, or you can help them and you'll get something. The only one that felt a little bit weird about it was when you go to rescue Seraphine's sister on that planet that's like the miners are starting to get ready to do a strike that you kind of didn't know about, and you have to like go down and rescue her. That's the only one where I felt like the reasons for you to get involved in a general workers' strike felt way thinner than a lot of the other ones of like, okay, I'm gonna go up to this ship and start a mutiny. That's what I'm doing now. And it's like, yeah, okay. I mean, I'm gonna do it because I want Seraphine to get reacquainted with his sister, but it feels pretty thin here. So that's the only one that I sort of had. I'm not.
Yeah.
Again, I don't fault workers for doing strikes. I always support strikes, solidarity. But the path for you to get there felt a little bit odd.
Yeah, and I also didn't like Kirk.
No, I don't like Kirk at all. Even when he gets what he wants, he's just like, well, hopefully the Union's ready for what comes after it. And I'm like, aren't you? What are you talking? That's you, man. Like, you're just, you're leaving? Okay, bye, you jerk. Yeah, stupid Kirk.
I'll tell you one thing that did disappoint me. It's a really minor really mind. I'm being very pedantic here.
Sure.
After I got Flint, I
Mhm.
flew all the way back to
I
Jean-Mi.
love Flint. I
Flint's
love
great.
And
Flint.
Jean-Mi was not there. I was like, can't we fix Flint? Can't we get like
Yeah,
Flint
right.
off of the thing? I'll take him to the Tinkerer, and there's
Yeah,
no
reboot this
talk to
dude too.
Jean-Mi again option.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like how it eventually paid off because like Flint turned into the kind of test bed for rebooting you for a second time. But I had that
Wait,
same.
wait. He went first for you?
He wanted to, yeah, because
Okay.
his okay. So his whole thing in mind was like, I need you to take me away from Oliveria because I'm the
Mm-hmm.
one that I
That's
killed.
enough about chasing.
Yeah, I killed the hunter at Oliveria,
Yep.
and Flint was like, "Look, you need to take me away because all I'm doing is I'm acting as a beacon for these people that need to be hidden for their own reasons. I'm not a person, so I don't need to be here." And like they kept trying to kill themselves during the hunter thing at Oliveria, and I wouldn't let them. Um, and they were basically like, "Look, I'm in a bad spot," but I think it was either Bliss or Yuri was experimenting on him and trying to figure out like, all right, here's what went wrong with the reboot the first time, and here's how we can make sure that it succeeds. And I had Flint go first because he was really making a case for like, look, if it doesn't work, I'm at the end, man. Like you still have time, but if this doesn't work for me, that's kind of this is my last shot. So we can roll the dice on me. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna say no. You're making a case here.
Okay. We went together.
Yeah. Did you,
Mm.
did you hold Flint's hand? I held Flint's
I
hand.
held
I
Flint's
held
hands
Flint's
and we
hand
went
too. Yeah,
together at the
Oh,
same time.
yeah.
yeah.
Like
We
we
got
both
rebooted
got
at the same
rebooted
time.
at the same time.
Mm-hmm. I so one of my favorite things about this game that I didn't notice until the end does this is how much of that hum of the various stations and planets and the rig is so pervasive throughout the entire game that there's just the sound of spaceships and cities and the rig and like everything. There's just a like being in New York City.
A
There's
white noise.
yeah, there's just this white noise of things going on around you. But when the game cuts that off at the end and it's silence, man, what a moment of just like, yeah, you're right. There has been just this ground level hum going on through this entire game and having it's like a 1-2 punch, especially coming off of that first game, of this game cutting off that noise and having an incredibly poignant ending, and it just ending. And there not being a bunch of different endings you could choose from the first game. It's just you did the second reboot, and that's the end of your story, and you're opening up potentially another chapter. And hitting those credits was just like, ah, oh, man, you did it this time. Jeez.
Yep.
Yeah. This
So
is a great moment.
I want to give myself a little bit of props for recognizing the leader of the Pilgrim Seed.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go back to Oliveira and you help the colony set itself up and you have like a party, I don't know if you caught this, Musim, but there's a guy who he's just referred to as a colonist or something like that.
Something like that. He doesn't have a name.
No, he just shows up, has a conversation with you, and goes his own way. And I immediately sent Boston a message and was like, "Hey, Boston, I think that was the guy from the first game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the guy from the first game
Yeah,
because he looks the same,
yeah.
except he doesn't have his Iron Man suit on anymore,
As soon
and he's
as
in
you
a
mentioned the
wheelchair-looking
suit,
thing."
I was just like, "Oh right, it's that dude from the first game with that like metal
His name is Skull.
hazmat suit thing."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that was him.
Yeah.
And then like I sent Boston pictures of him, and I was like, yep, it's definitely him.
Yeah.
And I
Side
like
by
the fact
side.
that
Yeah.
and it was like before they referenced the Pilgrim Seed because I didn't know that was where Oliviera came from.
Mm-hmm.
And then they immediately reference it afterwards, like, yeah, that was definitely Sol. They didn't need to put him in there. They didn't even reference the fact that he was from the first game. But like the fact that they throw all of these little bits and pieces in there just as like a nice little thing for people who have played the first game.
And
For people who
and they don't ever do like a
wink and a nod.
like no, not even like an MCU thing of just like, huh, remember this? Like here's a sepia toned screenshot of the first game. It's just like, we don't know who this is, that's fine. If you don't remember who this is from the first one, that's fine. Or if you didn't do, maybe you didn't even like talk to any of these people. Maybe you never talked to Aki in the first game because you just skipped that entire quest line. That's cool. She's here now, starting on a new planet. I really liked that it was all of these like kind of subtle things of, you know, these doctors helped me on the eye. People talking about Erlin's eye. I knew a sleeper myself once. You know, Bliss saying, you know, I haven't worked on a sleeper in a while. That sort of thing. I that was way better instead of like, huh, huh, Bliss. You know, remember them? So
Yeah,
and
I did
go.
so terrible at recognizing. I'm sorry, you weren't done. I was just
No, you're
saying.
fine. I
I
did
did.
a pretty
Go on.
bad job with that too on some characters. Like I think Ankita and Bliss and Aki were the ones that I really were just like, especially Bliss and Ankita because those were some of my favorites from the first one. But there were some that I didn't remember at all. I probably should have played Citizen Sleeper 1 before this again, but
I I did, and I didn't remember it. Like I really like Citizen Sleeper 1, but it did not like Citizen Sleeper 2 like completely drew me in a way that Citizen Sleeper 1 did not.
right,
Um, where there were a lot of moments in Citizen Sleeper 1 that were very mechanical for me, where I was going through text. I'm like, okay, so how do I get this outcome where I
right,
have enough money for stabilizer or whatever? Most of the time I had the TV on or something else going. In Citizen Sleeper 2, I had nothing else going. You know, I might
yeah,
have some music or something, but that was what I was doing because it drew me into that degree. So I had a like Bliss took me a little bit. I'm like, that guy's got to be from or that person has to be from the first game, right?
right.
Um, and but it didn't take it like it. Honestly, it took until Ankita showed up. I'm like, wait,
Wait, I
she's the
know that
one
braid.
who tricked me in that first game and
Right,
shot a dude,
right,
and or at least that's how my first game went. Um, and I googled her, and then they're like, yeah, and if you brought Bliss, like they'd recognize. I'm like, oh crap, that is the
right,
Bliss wasn't the first
Yeah.
one.
right.
But like Aki, I don't remember Aki at all.
She
Like
was in the DLC.
Mhm.
She was the leader of the Desert Moon ship.
oh, that
So
would be why, because I have like I'm at the very beginning of the DLC where I've not really met anyone.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, I I did want to make a mention too. I think one of the reasons why this game pulled me in a little bit stronger than the first one as well is I think the writing is even stronger in this one. I think it was really strong in the first one, but this one is even a step above the first one. And one more thing I wanted to mention, looking here through my notes about the ending, I really liked that the game gave you an opportunity at the end to say like, all right, if you've before you reboot, you can go do whatever other stuff you wanted to do. Go take a tour, talk to everybody, have that party in Oliveria. Like you can do anything else you've wrapped up, but every couple of cycles, your body gets one more permanent glitch on it because you're getting closer to the reboot and your body is shutting down. And just like with all the other stuff in this game, I really liked that kind of combination of the story and the gameplay really meshing very well. Of just like you can keep doing this stuff, but like you don't have infinite time to do this. So
yeah.
say whatever goodbyes and kind of clean up whatever you can, but that's all you're going to be able to do. And I thought
Yeah.
I think that made the whole ending portion of the game even stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's continued storytelling throughout. Like,
Yep.
it's impressive.
Yeah. I think that's a great word for it. Yeah. All right. Any additional thoughts here for Citizen Sleeper 2?
I kind of want to
Okay.
go play it again after this conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm still playing it. I have
Ditto.
that dangerous playthrough that I need to finish.
That's my
oh
next
boy.
playthrough I'm going to do. Yeah. It's a spicy one.
Oh boy. Yeah. So mechanically, Citizen Sleeper 2 is a better game than Citizen Sleeper 1.
Mm-hmm.
The stress mechanics are interesting. The fact that there is actually a fail state in it is interesting.
Right.
The rebuilding of the dice and that whole thing, and that's how you lose dice is by being too stressed. I think it mechanically, I think it genuinely is incredible. I think I prefer the writing and storytelling in Citizen Sleeper 1.
Oh, okay.
I don't think Citizen Sleeper 2 is bad. I genuinely
Sure.
don't. I cried once in Citizen Sleeper 2. Citizen Sleeper 1, I cried like 4 times.
Right.
So, like, I just think the story for Citizen Sleeper 1 was better for me.
Yeah.
Mechanically, 2, I think, is a better game to play.
Yeah. That makes sense. It's all, like, especially with these two games, I think it's...
There's a lot of text.
Well, and I think it also comes down to what of the story lands for you personally, because these are really personal stories. I know people can look at it and be like, it's just cyberpunk, you're a robot, burr, burr, burr. It's like, that's not... If it lands, I think it lands pretty hard. That makes sense. What about you, Misum? Any final thoughts here for Citizen Sleeper 2?
Well, I've already kind of said the opposite of what Moon just said.
That's a great part about the show. We've got 3 different opinions.
Yeah. I adore Citizen Sleeper 2. I think I agree though. I agree it's a mechanically better game. I think the first game was maybe a little too rough in terms of the stress levels they put on you.
Mm-hmm.
But I love when a game lets me recruit a crew, get a ship, and then go perform missions. Like, I'm not sure if there really isn't a game mechanic I don't love more than that. Like,
Right.
Just give me that, whether it's a pirate ship, whether I'm in a spaceship, what have you. I love doing it. And this game is just it completely blew me away. Like, I was I think I finished it within a week and a half or something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
every time I played it, like, that just it completely engulfed me.
Yeah.
And I know I need to finish the DLC on the first one because I'm really not very far into it. And it seems like the DLC is going to be like way more interesting to me than a large chunk of the main game.
Mm.
But also, I think the first one would have been a lot stronger if, like, you had a ship and were going to different locations and had more of a through line than just survive. But these games are absolutely amazing, and I am so enthralled that they exist.
That's kind of the thing that I was thinking playing through this is like, man, I can't believe we got 2 of these. Like, in my heart of hearts, I hope that we get more games like this. And I'm not talking about, like, you can play something like Tharsis, which is a very similarly mechanical game to this, where you're rolling dice and you're trying to go do a job, but it's more like a roguelike and it's a lot less story focused. I really love how this game really does kind of bring the best, to me, the best parts of a tabletop RPG to life in a video game without having to do, detailed character sheets and creating your own character and doing all this. Like, it really does.
And also, a group of friends that you can regularly meet with and
That's
have
right.
a scheduled thing.
Yeah, exactly. it's like I really hope that more games can kind of take the positives of what Citizen Sleeper did and kind of make it their own. Hopefully at some point. But yeah, I loved this game as much as I loved the first one. I probably like this one a little bit more than the second one. I love this one more than the first one. Kind of on all fronts. And I love it. It's one of those games you play and you're like, yeah, this is going pretty high on my top 10 list this year pretty easily, and it's gonna be one of those like always recommend games of like, hey, you're looking to play something, play Citizen Sleeper 1 and 2. Like you can just bang out each one of those in a couple of hours as long as you aren't allergic to reading, and then you just kind of have a great time. So love them. 2 thumbs up for both. I want to remind everybody the next game is Lost Records Bloom and Rage Tape 1. That came out on PS5 series consoles and PC. So you can check that out. We're going to figure out what that entails here and probably try to figure out what the heck Tape 2 is going to be once we're done with Tape 1. But we'll talk about that next time. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. We'll see you next month. Bye.
Bye.